Are you neglecting some of these essential preps? We talk a lot about food storage and things like that on my channel, but there are lots of preps that are absolutely essential, and many people neglect them, and it could be deadly in case of an SHTF situation. We want to be prepared, and some of these are not that difficult. Some of them don't even cost a penny to do. It's just things that we need to work on and things like that, but they often get neglected because it's not always the easiest, or sometimes it's hard to come up with it. But there are lots and lots of ways to go about this, and it's going to be very individual for each person. So today I thought I would talk about some of the most neglected preps that people often neglect, but they are absolutely essential in our preparations. So let's jump in and see what they are. So the first thing on my list is developing and testing out a preparedness plan. A lot of times we're like, oh, we're going to do this. Writing it down is going to be helpful. You may be incapacitated, and that may be the SHTF, and your family may have to follow this preparedness plan. So writing it down step by step can really help make it go smoothly and easy for anyone in your family. You want to make sure that you're able to help them even if you're not able to do it. You know, some things happen, and we want to make sure that we've got this put together for our families, and writing everything down in order of how they should be doing it, how it should be done. It can help you as well. Even if you're not incapacitated, this can be very helpful for you, because sometimes in different situations we get really frustrated and we may be in shock or something like that. We might not be thinking clearly. If we've got it written down, we can go through step by step on those preparedness plans. And if you test that out to see how it's actually going to work, you can find a lot of flaws in your plan, because sometimes the way we think it's going to work doesn't always work. So we've got to make sure that we are ready for those not so perfect situations, or not exactly what we thought it was going to be. And getting that plan together and testing it out is super important. The second thing on my list is self-defense and security. We need to be practical about our self-defense and security. It's great to think that we're going to be John Wick, but the reality is, what are our skills? We need to practice those skills, be prepared for them, and make sure that we know exactly what we're going to do, how we're going to handle situations. And, be flexible about it, because every situation is a little bit different, but we need to be prepared for that. And what can we do? The third thing on my list is medical and health supplies. A lot of people overlook that. You would think that that would be right at the top, and for me it is one of the top things, but not for everybody. If you don't have medical issues or any kind of problems normally on an everyday basis, it may not be something that you really think about, but it is something that we have to consider and be prepared for. Keeping your first aid supplies, over-the-counter medications, things like that are super important, and they can be life-saving in certain situations. We want to look at those medical supplies and see how much we have and how long they're going to last in a big disaster. We may have enough Band-Aids for a year, and on a regular every day-to-day basis, you may only use 1 or 2 boxes a year. But if something really happened and you needed to use gauze every day for weeks to cover a large gash or wound, do you have enough for that? And to have it multiple times in a year, because if things are down for a year, it could definitely be life-threatening. The fourth thing on my list is fitness. Unfortunately, I'm not in the best shape, and I am not saying that you don't have to be a major athlete. I think it's important to make sure that you are physically fit enough to do the things that you believe you may have to do. If you have to take your emergency bag on your back and walk 20 miles or 50 miles, are you physically fit to do that? And, just getting out and getting some exercise, getting in the garden, going on walks, preparing yourself for if you actually have to do that can be extremely helpful. And I know not everybody is going to be able to do that stuff, but a lot of times that's something that's overlooked because, I don't have time for it. It's just a backpack I'm going to throw on my back. I'll tell you, 10, 15 pounds on your back makes a big difference on a long hike. The fifth thing is sanitation and hygiene. I can't believe people that forget about this stuff or don't think about it. How are you going to deal in a grid down situation with no water? You've got to be able to clean yourself to stay healthy. You're going to have to use the toilet. If you don't have working plumbing in your home, you are going to have to figure out your sanitation. Emergency toilets are really affordable, simple to put together in a DIY thing. You can do it really easily and cheaply. And how are you going to take care of that waste afterwards? I know we can bury it in the ground. We have done that before. We know how it works, making sure you're not near a water source, anything like that, but really thinking about your sanitation and how that's going to work. Could you put an outhouse on your property? That might be a solution for you. Not everybody can do that, but if you can, it would be a great way to go and a pretty simple way to deal with the situation of sanitation. And the sixth thing on my list is knowledge and skills. I think skills are the most important prep. Even if you do not have anything stored up, if you've got the skills to go out and forage, garden, hunt, feed yourself, keep yourself warm, make fires, collect water, filter water, all of those things, if you've got those skills, you really don't need to have a huge stockpile of stuff. Having a stockpile is wonderful, and it's easy to go buy stuff. I know it's so simple and easy to go buy stuff, but the skills are what's going to save you in the long run in a big situation. So we want to make sure that we've got those skills down pat, and we're working on them continuously to make sure that we can take care of stuff in a long-term situation. And the seventh thing on my list is getting and staying organized. Boy, is that a tough one. I know it's tough. I've been there. I've had trouble with this myself. I'm not the most organized person. But after a few grid down situations, I learned that if I can't find it, I might as well not have it. I've wasted my money. So making sure that we're organized and keeping that stuff organized in emergency situations, it is going to save us. Because if we can't find it, we might as well not have it. And I've been there, so I know that one is a stinker. And number 8 on my list is multi-purpose emergency supplies and staples, things like that. Making sure that we've got things that are going to be useful in more than one situation. We want it to be useful for a whole bunch of different things if possible, because you don't have to carry as wide a variety in your supplies if you've got something that's going to cover 5 or 6 different things. So multi-purpose items, I think, are right at the top. One of those things that we really need to look at, what else can we do with this? We may buy baking soda to brush our teeth or cleaning, but there are lots of other uses for it, tons and tons of uses, and learning those different uses for the different products that we have can really be extremely helpful. And number 9 on my list is spare parts, tools, manuals, books. We need everything written down. I think it is really important. I cannot remember everything every day. The older we get, the worse our memory is, I swear. But having those books and having things written down so we can refer to them. Manuals, so if we have to fix something, having those on hand are super important. Having tools to actually do the job that needs to be done. And making sure we've got spare parts. Some things are not just going to, break down and you can put tape on it. Sometimes you're going to need another part. And especially if it's a really important tool. We keep lots of extra spare parts for our pews and things like that to make sure if they start jamming or we have any kind of issues, we can repair them. We want to make sure that we can fix the things that are the most important. So making sure we have those and having, the manuals are helpful because it gives diagrams and things like that a lot of time, clear instructions, how to fix things if it's not something you've done. or, you know, just practicing with it is another great way to go, because that way you could, if you do it enough times, you're going to remember it. It's like riding a bike. When you do it enough times, it becomes second nature. So those are definitely all highly neglected things that people seem to forget when they're prepping, and I think they are so important. Making sure we've got those and having everything in order is really, really important. And that's it for my most neglected but super important preps that we all should be working on and have. We need to make sure that we're prepared. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, and we need to be prepared for whatever it is that can come our way. And that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.